Ayesha, in tears, after discovering Stephen Curry's secret kept for 11 years, she stood in the doorway, frozen, her hands trembled, the paper slipped from her grip and landed softly on the floor. Ayesha Curry had just uncovered something that shattered everything she thought she knew about her husband, Stephen Curry. 11 years of marriage, 2 beautiful daughters, a life built on love, faith, and trust. But now there was this. A single document, buried deep inside a locked drawer, hidden behind old tax papers and signed contracts. It wasn't a legal form. It wasn't a financial record. It was a letter, handwritten, dated 2013, signed by Stephen, and it revealed a secret he had kept for over a decade. "I never told you this," he wrote, "because I didn't want to lose you." Ayesha's eyes filled with tears as she read those words over and over again. What could he possibly have hidden? Why now? And why did it feel like her whole world was falling apart? Let's rewind. Back to 2011. Stephen Curry was just another NBA player trying to make it big. He'd been drafted by the Warriors in 2009, but injuries kept piling up. Critics said he was too small, too fragile, that he would never be more than a bench player. Off the court, things weren't much better. His father, Del Curry, had played in the NBA for 16 years, so expectations were high, pressure was real, and then came the rumors, whispers in locker rooms, texts from people he barely knew, offers he couldn't believe were real, gambling, big money, high stakes, secret bets placed on games he played in. Stephen always denied it, always walked away, but one late night in December 2011, he made a call to someone he shouldn't have, and it changed everything. The person on the other line promised him easy money. "Just miss a few shots," they said. "No one will know. We'll take care of the rest." Stephen hesitated. For days, he wrestled with the idea, not because he wanted to cheat, but because his family needed help. They were struggling financially. His contract was smaller than he hoped, and Ayesha was pregnant with their first child. So he made a decision. He agreed to throw part of a game, just once, just enough to make a difference, but not enough for anyone to notice. Or so he thought, because 2 weeks later, someone showed up at his door, a man in a black coat, sunglasses indoors. He handed Stephen an envelope, inside $50,000 in cash, and a note, "We're watching, and we expect more." That's when Stephen realized what he had done. He had stepped into something far bigger than himself, and now there was no turning back. He tried to walk away, stopped answering calls, blocked numbers, changed locks, but the threats kept coming. Late-night voicemails, photos of Ayesha walking through the mall, pictures of their unborn daughter. Then one day, a bombshell hit online. An anonymous post claimed Stephen Curry had ties to illegal gambling rings. The NBA opened an investigation. Everything came crashing down. Except, Stephen passed every test, every lie detector, every interview.
Because he never took the money again.
Because he never helped them win again. Because he chose his family over fear.
He gave the money back.
Burned the phone, wrote a letter to Ayesha, but he never gave it to her.
He kept it locked away.
For 11 years, until now. She picked the letter up again. Her tears dropped onto the page, and she kept reading. "I wanted to tell you so many times," he wrote. "But I was scared. Scared you'd leave me. Scared our girls would grow up without me. Scared I'd lose everything I worked for. But I swear on my life, I never did it again." Ayesha closed her eyes. She remembered the way Stephen changed after that season.
How he became quieter.
More protective. How he started locking doors twice, checking windows before bed. Now she understood why.
He sat down on the couch, held the letter tight, and whispered through her tears, "I forgive you."
But just then, her phone rang. Unknown number. She stared at it, didn't answer, but the message was clear. This story wasn't over. The past was knocking again.
And this time, there was nowhere left to hide.
He sat alone in the garage. The lights were off. Only a sliver of daylight from the cracked door lit his face. Stephen Curry stared at the wall, hands gripping the edge of the workbench.
His breath was heavy. His heart, it felt like it had stopped beating.
The moment he heard Ayesha's voice crack over the phone, she found it. Those 3 words echoed in his mind like a death sentence. He didn't need to ask what she found.
He already knew. A letter, the truth.
Everything he buried for 11 years had come back, and now there was no hiding.
No more pretending, just silence and fear.
He walked slowly back into the house. Ayesha stood in the kitchen. Her eyes were red, swollen. She hadn't moved since reading the letter. Stephen opened his mouth to speak.
Nothing came out. He tried again.
"I never meant to hurt you," he said softly. Ayesha looked up. Her voice was quiet, but strong.
Did you do it?
Stephen swallowed hard. "Yes," he whispered.
Once.
Ayesha closed her eyes. The word hit her like a punch to the chest.
One. That's all it took.
One mistake. 11 years later, and it still had the power to tear everything apart. Stephen stepped closer. "I didn't take the money," he said. "I gave it back. I never did it again. I swear on our girls." Ayesha looked at him, really looked at him.
This man.
Her husband.
The father of her children.
The man who prayed with them every night, who built them a life filled with love, faith and family.
Could this really be the same person who once made a deal with the devil?
She walked past him, sat down at the table.
You kept this from me,
she said. For 11 years, Stephen nodded.
I was scared, he admitted. I thought if I told you, you'd leave me, that I'd lose everything.
Ayesha looked down at the letter again. I don't even know what to feel right now, she said. Stephen sat across from her. I understand if you're angry, if you don't trust me, but I need you to believe me when I say I changed, that I fought to get out of that mess. And I've spent every day since trying to make sure nothing like that ever touches us again. Ayesha wiped her tears. I believe you, she said quietly. Stephen exhaled, but she continued. This isn't just about us. Stephen frowned. What do you mean?
Ayesha reached for her phone.
She turned the screen toward him. There on social media were headlines. Stephen Curry's secret gambling scandal. Curry's hidden past resurfaces. What really happened? Comments flooded in, some supportive, most not. People were digging. Old rumors were coming back, and worse, someone had leaked the story. Stephen stared at the screen. His stomach dropped, because he knew. This wasn't random. Someone wanted this to come out.
And now? Now they were watching, waiting.
Ayesha looked at him. Who else knows about this? Stephen shook his head. I don't know, he said, but someone doesn't want this to stay buried. Ayesha stood up. We have to tell the kids. Stephen nodded, but before he could answer, his phone rang. Unknown number. Again, he stared at it.
Didn't move.
Ayesha watched him.
Answer it. Stephen hesitated, then pressed the green button. Silence. Then a voice, low, familiar. You thought you could walk away.
Click. Line went dead. Stephen's face went white. Ayesha saw it. Who was it? Stephen looked at her.
I don't know,
he said. But they know we know. Ayesha took a deep breath. What do we do now? Stephen stood up. We find out who's behind this.
Ayesha nodded. Together, they would face this, again.
But this time, they wouldn't do it alone. The next morning, Stephen sat alone at the kitchen table. A steaming cup of coffee sat untouched in front of him. His eyes were fixed on the phone in his hand. Still no new messages, but he knew it was only a matter of time. Ayesha walked in quietly. She didn't say anything at first, just poured herself a cup of coffee and sat across from him. They sat in silence for a few minutes. Then she finally spoke. We need to tell someone. Stephen looked up. Who? A lawyer, she said. Someone we can trust.
Stephen shook his head. I don't want this to become public. Ayesha leaned forward. It already is,
she said. You saw the posts last night. People are talking. If we don't get ahead of this, it's going to spiral out of control. Stephen exhaled. He knew she was right. But the thought of dragging his name through the mud again, of putting his family through more, it felt like reliving the nightmare. He stood up.
I'll make some calls, he said. Ayesha nodded.
But just as Stephen reached for his phone, hers buzzed. A message came through, from an unknown number.
No text,
just a link. Ayesha opened it. Her face paled. Stephen noticed. What is it? She turned the screen toward him. It was a video, blurred at first. Then it focused. A man, in a dark room, hands tied behind his back, head down, and then he looked up. Stephen gasped. He knew that face. It was Marcus Taylor, an old friend, or so he thought. The video played on. Marcus looked directly into the camera. "I tried to warn you," he said. "I told you they never let go." Then the screen went black. Ayesha stared at Stephen. "Who is that?" Stephen swallowed hard. "That's the man who gave me the money," he whispered. Ayesha's hands trembled. "He's alive." Stephen didn't answer, because now he wasn't sure. He grabbed his phone, dialed a number, one he hadn't used in years. It rang once, twice, then a voice answered. "You shouldn't have called." Stephen's voice was low. "Where's Marcus?" Silence, then a laugh. "You really think he got to walk away?" Stephen's stomach dropped. The line went dead. Ayesha watched him. "What did they say?" Stephen looked at her. "They have him." Ayesha's breath caught. "What do you mean they have him?" Stephen stood up. "I have to find him." Ayesha grabbed his arm. "Stephen, no. This is exactly what they want." Stephen shook his head. "No," he said. "This is what I want." He pulled his arm free, grabbed his keys, and walked out the door. Ayesha stood frozen, watching him leave, knowing one thing: if he walked into the dark again, he might not come back. Stephen drove, with one hand on the wheel. The other clutched a crumpled piece of paper, an address, one he hadn't seen in over a decade. He had hoped he would never need it again, but now he had no choice. The streets were quiet as he left the suburbs behind. His mind raced. Marcus, missing, tied up, on camera. "I tried to warn you." What did that mean? Had Marcus been trying to reach him? Why now? And who had taken him? Stephen tightened his grip on the steering wheel. He turned onto an old cracked road. Buildings leaned like they were tired of standing. This wasn't the world he lived in now. No cameras, no cheering crowds, just shadows and secrets. He pulled up to a rusted gate. A keypad sat beside it. Stephen got out, typed in a code, 1317. The gate clicked open. He drove through, parked in front of a small warehouse. No lights on, no signs of life, but he knew better. He stepped out. The air was thick, cold. He walked toward the door. It creaked open before he could knock. Inside, the room was dim. Only a single bulb swung from the ceiling, and there, in the center of the room, was a chair, empty. Stephen stepped forward. Then a voice came from the darkness. "You're late." Stephen turned. A man stepped into the light. Tall, black jacket, face carved from stone. "Long time, Curry," he said. Stephen recognized him immediately. Derek Vance, the man who gave Marcus the money, the man who made the offer all those years ago. Stephen took a breath. "I want to know where Marcus is." Derek smiled. "You think this is about him?" Stephen didn't answer. Derek walked around him slowly. "You walked away once," he said. "That was a mistake." Stephen stood still. "You threatened my family," he said. "You sent me photos of my wife, of my unborn daughter." Derek stopped in front of him. "That's not a threat," he said. "That's a reminder." Stephen clenched his jaw. "I gave the money back," he said. "I never played along again." Derek laughed. "But you did play along," he said. "Once." Stephen's heart pounded. "And now?" he asked. Derek stepped closer. "Now," he said, "you owe us." Stephen's stomach twisted. "No," he said. "I don't." Derek smiled again. "We'll see." He snapped his fingers. Two men stepped out from the shadows. Stephen backed up. One of them held a phone. He tapped the screen. A video played. Stephen watched. His eyes widened. It was Marcus. Still tied. Still scared. But this time someone else was in the frame. A woman. Blonde hair. Blue eyes. Bound. Gagged. Stephen felt the air leave his lungs. It was Ayesha. The video ended. Derek stepped close. "You still think you can walk away?" Stephen stared at him. His hands shook. His voice was low. "If you hurt her." Derek leaned in. "She's already involved," he whispered. "You just didn't know it yet." Stephen's mind raced. How? When? Who else was watching? Derek turned and started walking away. "Your next move, Curry," he said. "Better be fast." The door slammed shut. Stephen was alone, in the dark, with only one thought. He had to save them both. Stephen stood frozen in the empty room. The silence felt heavier than before. His heart pounded like a drum in his ears. Ayesha, tied up, gagged, in the same room as Marcus, and he had no idea where they were. He pulled out his phone, dialed home. It rang once, twice, then a voice came through. "Daddy." Steph's breath caught. It was Riley, his daughter. "Hey baby," he said, forcing calm into his voice. "Is mommy there?" There was a pause. Then Riley whispered, "No, she left a while ago." Stephen's stomach dropped. "She didn't tell you where she was going?" "No," Riley said. "She just said she needed to take care of something and be back soon." Stephen closed his eyes. Ayesha hadn't gone back home. She had gone looking for him. And now she was with them. Stephen forced a smile into his voice. "Okay baby, listen to me. I want you to stay inside. Don't open the door for anyone, not even if they say it's me. Understand?" Riley hesitated. "But Dad, promise me," Stephen said. "I promise," she whispered. Stephen hung up. His hands shook. He had to find her. Now, he looked around the warehouse one last time. Nothing, just dust, shadows and echoes. He stepped outside. The night air hit him like ice. He got into his car, started the engine. Then his phone buzzed. Another message. Unknown number. He opened it. One word. "Watch below it." Another link. Stephen clicked. The video loaded. Blurred at first. Then it focused. A small room. Dark walls. Marcus on the floor. Blood on his face. Ayesha beside him. Still tied. Still gagged. But alive. For now. A voice spoke off camera. "You have 24 hours. The screen went black. Stephen gripped the steering wheel. 24 hours. To find them. Before it was too late. He drove fast. Back toward the city. His mind raced. Who could help? Who could he trust? He thought of Ayesha. Of their daughters. Of everything they built together. He couldn't lose it. Not now. Not like this. He reached for his phone again. Dialed another number. It rang. Then a voice answered. "What do you want, Curry?" Stephen took a breath. "I need your help." Silence. Then the voice said, "You know what they do to people who cross them." Stephen tightened his grip on the phone. "I know," he said, "but I'm not crossing them." He paused. "I'm coming for them." Stephen pulled into an old parking lot behind a closed-down gym. The headlights cut through the darkness. Rain began to fall, soft at first, then harder. He looked at his phone. Still no messages, just the ticking of time. 23 hours, and 50 minutes left. And no idea where they were keeping Ayesha and Marcus. Then his phone rang. Unknown number. Again, he answered fast. "Where are they?" A voice came through. Cold, flat. "You already know the answer." Stephen's jaw tightened. "I don't have time for games," he said. "If you want something from me, just say it." There was a pause. Then the voice whispered, "You have to give us what we lost." Stephen frowned. "What are you talking about?" Another pause. "Then you walked away with everything. Fame, fortune, family. You got to be a hero while others paid the price." Stephen's breath caught. "You mean Marcus?" The line went silent. Then the voice said, "He stayed behind. He covered for you, and now he's paying for your mistake." Stephen swallowed hard. "What do you want from me?" The voice didn't hesitate. "You come alone. Midnight. Pier 12. Or she dies first." The line went dead. Stephen stared at the phone. Pier 12. It was on the far side of the city. Old docks, abandoned warehouses, no cameras, no witnesses, exactly the kind of place they would choose. He started the car, drove fast. The rain pounded against the windshield. His mind raced. They wanted him, alone, at midnight. It was a trap, but he had no choice. He reached for his phone again, dialed one last number. It rang once. Then a voice answered. "I thought I'd never hear from you again." The voice said. Stephen didn't waste time. "I need help," he said. Now, there was silence. Then the voice asked, "What happened?" Stephen exhaled. "They have my wife." Another pause. Then the voice said, "I'll meet you at the city bridge in 20 minutes." Stephen nodded, even though the person couldn't see him. "See you there." He hung up, pushed the gas pedal harder. The clock was ticking, and the storm was getting worse. Stephen pulled up to the city bridge. The rain hadn't let up. Lights from passing cars flickered across the wet pavement. He stepped out of his car, pulling his jacket tighter around him. A figure stood near the edge of the bridge, tall, lean, arms crossed. Stephen walked over. "You came," he said. The man turned. His face was older now, lines carved into his skin like maps of regret, but Stephen recognized him immediately. Jordan Reyes, once a rising NBA star, now just another ghost from the past. Jordan looked at Stephen. "I told you this would come back." Stephen didn't respond. Jordan turned toward the river below. "You think you're the only one they hurt?" he asked. "You think you got off easy?" Stephen swallowed hard. "I didn't know what I was getting into," he said. "I thought it was just one game, just enough to help my family." Jordan laughed, a bitter sound. "That's exactly what I told myself too," he said. "And look where it got me." Stephen studied him. "What happened to you?" Jordan shook his head. "They don't let go," he said. "Not ever. You give them an inch, and they take your whole life." Stephen took a step closer. "Then why are you here?" Jordan finally looked at him. "Because I know how this ends," he said. "Unless we stop it." Stephen frowned. "What do you mean?" Jordan reached into his coat, pulled out a small notebook, handed it to Stephen. Stephen opened it. Pages filled with names, dates, notes, photos taped inside. One caught his eye. Marcus, smiling, next to a man Stephen didn't recognize. Jordan pointed. "That's Marcus's brother," he said. "Gabe Taylor." Stephen looked up. "I never heard of him." Jordan nodded. "He wasn't part of it. Not at first. But when Marcus disappeared, Gabe started asking questions." Stephen flipped the page. More notes, locations, meetings, payments. Stephen closed the book slowly. "You've been tracking them." Jordan nodded. "For years," he said. "Trying to find a way out. Trying to make sure no one else gets pulled in." Stephen looked at him. "Then help me get Ayesha back." Jordan hesitated. "They won't let her go," he said. "Not unless we show them we're not afraid." Stephen's jaw tightened. "I'm not afraid." Jordan studied him, then nodded. "Good," he said, "because midnight is coming, and if we don't end this tonight, there won't be a next time." Stephen handed the notebook back. "What's the plan?" Jordan smiled slightly. "We hit them where they least expect it." Stephen followed his gaze, out toward the dark skyline. Pier 12 waited, and so did Ayesha. Stephen and Jordan drove in silence. The city lights blurred behind them as they left the bridge behind. Jordan kept his eyes on the road. Stephen stared out the window. His mind raced. Ayesha, Marcus, 23 hours. He had to make every minute count. Finally Jordan spoke. "You ever been to Pier 12 before?" Stephen shook his head. "No," he said. "But I know what kind of place it is." Jordan nodded. "It's where they take people who don't listen," he said. "Where they remind you that once you're in, there's no real way out." Stephen clenched his fists. "I'm not going back," he said. "Not this time." Jordan glanced at him. "They'll expect you to come alone," he said. "That's how they work. They want control." Stephen looked at him. "Then we give them something else." Jordan raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" Stephen opened the notebook again, flipped through the pages, stopped at a map, hand-drawn, marked with red circles. One in particular caught his eye. A building near the docks, just off Pier 12. Jordan saw where Stephen was looking. "That's their backup spot," he said. "If things go wrong, that's where they go." Stephen tapped the page. "If Ayesha and Marcus are still alive," he said, "they won't be at Pier 12. They'll be here." Jordan studied him. "You think they're trying to bait you into walking into a trap?" Stephen nodded. "They want me scared," he said. "They want me desperate. That's when I make mistakes." Jordan smirked. "Good thing you're not playing their game." Stephen closed the book. "We hit the backup location first," he said. "Get Ayesha and Marcus out. Then we deal with whoever's waiting at Pier 12. Jordan grinned. "I like the way you think." Stephen looked out the window again. Rain still pounded against the glass. But inside, something had changed. Fear was still there. Of course it was. But now, so was fire. He wasn't just fighting for himself anymore. He was fighting for his wife, for his family, for everything he almost lost. And this time, he wouldn't let them win. Stephen and Jordan pulled up to the building. It sat in the shadows of the city skyline. Rain dripped from rusted pipes. The windows were blacked out. No signs, no lights, just silence. Jordan killed the engine. You sure about this? He asked. Stephen nodded. No, he said. But we don't have time to be sure. They got out of the car, moved quickly toward the side entrance. Jordan pulled a small tool from his jacket, slid it into the lock. A soft click. He pushed the door open. Inside, the air was thick with dust and old memories. They stepped inside. Dark hallway stretched ahead. Only the sound of dripping water echoed around them. Stephen led the way. Quiet steps, heart pounding. They reached a corner, stopped. Voices came from the next room. Low, muffled. Stephen peeked around the wall. Two men stood guard, armed, watching a single door at the far end of the room. Stephen pulled back, whispered, "Two guards. They're watching that door." Jordan nodded. "We take them out fast," he said. "No noise." Stephen agreed. They moved, like shadows, one step, then another. Jordan took the first guard, a quick strike to the neck. He went down without a sound. Stephen took the second, arm around the throat. Pressure, blackout. They dragged the bodies behind a stack of crates. Then Stephen turned to the door, locked. Jordan pulled out another tool, worked fast. Click, door opened. Inside, dark. Then Stephen saw them. Ayesha, Marcus, both tied to chairs, gagged. Ayesha's eyes widened when she saw him. Stephen rushed forward, pulled the gag from her mouth. She gasped for air. "You came," she whispered. Stephen kissed her forehead. "I told you I would." He untied her hands, then helped Marcus. Ayesha stood slowly. Her legs were weak. Stephen held her up. "We have to go," he said. "Now." Marcus rubbed his wrists. "They'll know we're gone soon," he said. "We need to move." Jordan looked at Stephen. "We should split up," he said. "You get them out. I'll draw them away." Stephen hesitated. Jordan smirked. "Go," he said. "I'll meet you at the car." Stephen nodded, grabbed Ayesha's hand. Marcus followed. They slipped out the same way they came in. Rain hit their faces again. Wind howled through the alley. Stephen kept moving, kept pushing forward. Then a voice called from behind. "Curry." Stephen turned. One of the guards. He had woken up, and he had a gun, pointed right at them. Stephen pulled Ayesha behind him. Marcus stepped forward. The guard fired. Once, twice. Marcus dropped. Ayesha screamed. Stephen lunged, hit the guard hard. They crashed to the ground. Fists flew. Stephen landed one punch, then another. The guard stopped moving. Stephen stood, breathing hard. Ayesha knelt beside Marcus. His shirt was red. He groaned. Stephen dropped beside him. Marcus coughed, blood on his lips. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Stephen shook his head. "You did good," he said. "Stay with us." Marcus' eyes fluttered, then closed. Stephen felt for a pulse. Nothing. Ayesha put a hand over her mouth. Tears mixed with rain. Stephen stood, looked at the sky, then whispered, "I'm done running." He turned to Ayesha. "We finish this tonight." Stephen stood over Marcus. Rain washed the blood away. Ayesha clung to his arm. Her tears had stopped. Now there was only silence and fire. Jordan's voice crackled through Stephen's earpiece. "They're moving," Jordan said. "They know something went wrong." Stephen looked at Ayesha. "I have to go." She didn't stop him, just nodded. "I'll be right behind you," she said. Stephen turned, ran toward the sound of engines, toward the men who took everything, who threatened his family, who thought he would break. He found them near the water, 3 black SUV, doors open, men armed. Derek Vance stepped forward, smiling. "You just don't learn, do you?" Stephen didn't answer. He walked straight up to him. No fear, no hesitation, just truth. "You took my friend," Stephen said. "You hurt my wife. You thought I'd fold." Derek laughed. "You did once." Stephen's eyes burned. "I won't again." Then he lunged. Fists flew. Shots rang out. But Stephen didn't stop. He fought like a man with nothing left to lose, and everything to protect. Sirens screamed in the distance. Jordan had called someone. The police, reporters, the world, everything came crashing down. By morning the story broke. Stephen Curry confronts. Dark past, hero or victim. Photos of the fight, video clips, Marcus' body being carried away. Ayesha giving a statement. Stephen standing beside her, silent, strong, changed. Weeks later the league held a hearing. Stephen told everything. No secrets, no lies, only the truth. He wasn't punished, because he fought for redemption, and won. Years passed. Stephen kept playing, kept winning. But now he also helped others, athletes caught in the same trap, offering a way out. Because he knew one thing, some secrets don't stay buried forever. But courage, that lasts a lifetime. If this story gave you chills, if you couldn't look away, drop a in the comments. Let me know if Stephen deserved a second chance, or if the past should have stayed buried. And if you want more stories like this, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, because next week, we uncover another secret, one that changed everything, for someone just like him. See you soon.